Hello, everyone. Thank you for sliding into our DMs today. My name is Dan,
And I'm Montana.
and welcome to Sliding into the DMs of Disability. We are now at episode 8, which sounds crazy to say. I'm so excited. And today's topic is one that, especially for disabled Americans, we have struggled with, is insurance and how we have had to navigate it, how it has both harmed and helped us, and just talking about a bunch of different things that we have faced. Just a quick thing, like Montana and I are both from the United States. We can only really speak from the United States perspective. We know that we may have listeners from all over the world, and we would love to hear how different, for either better or worse, your perspective of insurance is. So Montana was the one who actually came up with this topic idea, and I really love it because it's something that I think all disabled people can really relate to. I'm actually very curious what kind of inspired you or kind of wanted to make you talk about this today.
Yeah, so right now I'm doing like spring cleaning. And for me, spring cleaning is not only cleaning your house, but also getting better financial situation. And so with us being almost halfway done with the year, I was taking a look at my FSA account, which that's a flexible spending account that I have with my insurance company. And I was just kind of seeing like where I'm at with like my spending, like how much more I have left before I would have to use like my credit cards and all that. And it just made me reflect and realize that, wow, we're not really taught much about insurance. We're taught that we need it to go to doctors, but we're not really taught what to do. Is it FSA account, HSA account? Do we talk to HR? Do we talk to a third party? Like, where do we go from here? And I know myself, I had a lot of issues trying to figure out what's the best plan for me, especially when we're in the fall time, like October in November. So this year, I'm trying to be diligent with my work and be like, okay, we're halfway through the year. How's my insurance treating me? Like, do I like the policy I'm on right now? Because my company has three policies. And is there anything else that I would possibly want to change my policy or premium that I can possibly do when we have the open marketplace? I believe it's an October and November timeframe, but don't quote me on that. But I think it's around the fall timeframe. So I just did a lot of spring cleaning and just spring like things. And I also have been following a lot of financial gurus and podcasters as well because I love a podcast. It's like my favorite thing. And a lot of people have been saying that most people need to do like insurance, but with the HSA account. And HSA accounts can be helpful. However, I realized with me, a FSA, so flexible spending account, is better because I go to a doctor more. HSA account is a little bit higher with a deductible, so you have to meet the deductible first. And then if you have extra money, it can go into investments long term for your retirement or I think it's mostly towards your retirement. But I'm also not like an insurance expert. I'm just a patient giving my thoughts on this matter. And it made me kind of annoyed that we only talk about insurance for healthy individuals. Oh, it only costs like 30 bucks a month if you use this marketplace. Oh, you need to do an HSA account. And a lot of people are giving their opinion, which I appreciate. But with me having a chronic illness, I have to do a lot more research on my end to see what's a better policy and what's best for me. Because someone who is able bodied, who don't go to the doctor, maybe like once a year, just a checkup, is completely different from me, who goes multiple times a year and goes multiple times a month when I'm sick. So that kind of sparked my interest for us to talk about it, the challenges, the positives, and all that, and what we learned from it.
Yeah, and it's so tough to navigate because I think the big point that you touched on is that a lot of these like advice things or a lot of the way that it's inherently structured is for the able-bodied person. And
Mhm.
there's so many of us that are not able-bodied that need insurance. And it's so tough too because it is in the United States tied to a lot of insurance is tied to employment.
Yep.
And it's so tough to feel that need of like we're stuck to our job because of the benefits that it gives us and we're scared of navigating in because like when we're transitioning the job, like it takes a couple months for benefits to kick in. Are we gonna have an emergency during that time? Like there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fears and challenges that we have to navigate and face that a lot of
Yeah.
able-bodied people don't necessarily consider.
100%. And one thing that you brought up that kind of like touched on was about how our jobs are linked to our insurance. And I remember that I was at a company a few years ago and they were doing layoffs. So every like few months, every 3 months, like 3 to 6 people got laid off. And I got laid off in the fall time. And it was right after the marketplace closed because I think it was in November. I got let go. And I think the market was open. I can't remember entirely, but it was around that time where the market was open, but then it closed for the insurance department. So then I had to get Cobra. And for those who don't know Cobra, Cobra, I'm probably going to butcher this, so I apologize for everyone who's insurance experts out there. But based off my knowledge, is Cobra is there to protect you. So when you do get laid off from a job, that you have 18 months of insurance available still through that same insurance company. Like for me, I think it was like Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I still had 18 months of that insurance. However, instead of my employer paying that insurance for me, I have to pay out of pocket. And for me, it was $800 a month to pay out
Ooh,
of pocket for insurance.
oh my
And I was
God.
like, holy crap. And I had to do it because I had a procedure coming up that next month. And I'm like, I have to do it because I don't know how much it will cost otherwise with it. And my parents are very gun ho of you always have to have insurance. You need to be like careful, pay as much as you can when it comes to medical. But for me, it was very hard to justify paying almost rent, a lot of people's rent to insurance. And I'm like, yeah, it's helping me have this procedure and continue that timeline, but also it's hurting me financially. And I was very eager to get a job very quickly because I knew,
Oh, hello?
3 weeks of me getting let go. That's very unheard of. A lot of people, it takes multiple months for them to find a job. But I was starting the interview process before because I was hearing grapevines that there was going to be another layoff. And sadly, I was one of the people who got laid off, as well as like two other people. And then 2 months after me, I think there was like 8 people. And so I started preparing a little bit, but that was when I really woke up as an adult, especially a chronic illness, disabled adult, saying I will always have to have insurance and I will always likely have to work a full time job to get insurance. Or if I am self employed, I need to have an amazing emergency fund. So if something unexpected does come up, I can go to the doctors, I can do this. But for me, that is more stress right now because I don't have that extended amount of funds because I'm still in my young 20s and getting a career.
Yeah. No, I had no idea that you had a situation like that, and that's just a really exemplifies just how much insurance and healthcare in our country it's such a harm to people that are trying to get on their feet, that are struggling financially,
Mhm.
that are trying to create a future, and it's something that just continues to create that cycle of poverty, of that misfortune, and it's so devastating to individuals, to families, to everything. And I feel like that's something that just insurance as a whole is very much not friendly for uh the person who needs the insurance, and that unfortunately in our system in the United States it's
Mhm.
privatized. So unfortunately a lot of insurance companies are going to prioritize the profit over the person, which sounds very eugenics based and very disgusting, and it is. But there's like things that have impacted people forever. Like thinking of things like Fail First, where insurance companies were like, you need to try this prescription and just see that it doesn't work just in case, because it might work before we get you the one that you actually need, because that one's expensive. We don't want to pay that unless it tells us that we have to. Like they will fight tooth and nail to make it make the quality of the life of the person harder just so
Hmm.
they can profiteer off of it. And it's so hard and it's so annoying. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through an experience like that.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot through that experience. I was very lucky during that time because I was living at home with my parents and I was in between places and I was saving a decent amount. And I was able to like figure things out, but still it was a lot of money out of my pocket that I had to do. And I was laughing a little bit because you were talking about that regards to insurance and medications. So for the medications I'm on now, they did the exact same thing, but they wanted me to be on one medication that I was allergic to, that I had allergic reaction. And they were fighting kind of tooth and nail, probably like 2 or 3 weeks. I know sometimes it can be longer for people, but I think for me, it was like 2 to 3 weeks saying, oh, you need to try this like medication. And they're like, oh, send this back to your doctor. And I was kind of like the middleman, I felt like. And I just called my doctor's office. And I was very point blank, being like, I am tired of this. I'm the patient. I am allergic to this medication. My father's allergic, as well as a sibling. I am allergic to a different way. I don't get a rash. However, I still have an allergic reaction and I'm in pain. But no, it's not the typical allergic reaction. Contact the insurance company. I need this other medication. I'm about to be in a flare. I want this done in 3 days. So I feel like being a patient, we always have to be an advocate for ourselves. And for me, it took a very hard, like long time and hard time because the insurance like part of it. I don't really know insurance. I was really never taught like what to look at for insurance, how to pick a policy. I was never taught anything like that. It's kind of like when we grow up in the public school system, we're not really taught on personal finance or taxes. We're not really taught on insurance as well. And I think that would be very important to be like, hey, if you want to be self-employed, you have to go to the marketplace to get your insurance. Hey, if you are going to be working for a company, these are usually the top three tiers of insurance that you get. This is why this one's good for you in X, Y, and Z. So I found it that I had to, because I used to be very shy and I used to be, well, I still feel like I'm polite. I'm still like polite and respectful, but I felt like I had to be more assertive when it came to the insurance component of my medications and of my care and quality of life. I would have to call the office instead of me being like my nice, like perky, bubbly self. I had to be very straight to the point and be like, we need this done in 3 days' time. This is not okay. And I don't know why that is. Like, I don't
It's
know
so,
why.
yeah, no, it's so frustrating that it's almost like they're like we talk about medical gaslighting a lot, but insurance, like they are a part of the group of people that medically gaslight us. They're the group of people that especially, and it's tough because they, more than almost any other person, hold a lot of the cards on the table and decide your fate in a lot of ways if they how much they cover for something or um want to expand upon something. So it's so tough where you have to feel that need to fight back. And that's something that even like for us, like as advocates, like we've been able to grow and develop those skills, but that's not for everyone. Not everyone has that
Mhm.
confidence or that ability to stand up for people. I remember when I was younger and they were trying to say I didn't need 2 cardiology appointments a year. They were only going to cover one now. And I had to like me and like this is before I started going into advocacy and everything. Like I had to work up the courage and just basically be like, these are what this is
Mhm.
why I need it. This is why I go twice a year. This is the state of my health. I if I don't have this, there could be potentially things that we're missing. And if it, I know that I'm not the only person who's had to go through that type of experience where they're trying to cut away at things because they just don't want to cover it because it's easier and cheaper to do so. And
Mhm.
meanwhile, they have to gaslight the patient that it's in their best interest as well. And it's so upsetting that we have this system that's not put in place to care for the fact that each person is their own unique living person and that they deserve the best quality of care that they could have.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing that kills me about insurance is I understand they want to make money. I get that. They're like that's a lot of businesses, they're money making machines. But for me, especially with the medications, if my primary doctor is telling you, the insurance company, that, hey, this is going to help me the most, don't you think you want to listen to a medical professional? Because you can save money in the long run. With me having medications that actually work well for me, that means I'm going to be somewhat normal. Like I will be functioning like almost I don't know the term. It's a Monday. I'll be functioning a lot better than I usually am when I'm in a flare. And it just makes my mind blown that they still think, oh, we need to put all this red tape, all these regulations, and make it so much more difficult for the patients. Well, us patients already have enough to worry about. We already have enough stress and anxiety, and this insurance barrier adds more anxiety. I know when I first got diagnosed as a teenager and a young adult, I'm over here trying to figure out how the crap do I do this? Where do I go moving forward? Oh, who do I talk to in the insurance? Because I kept getting different people like putting me in different like positions. And when I graduated college, I had a lot of positions I got offered. And one position I really wanted to take, but they didn't have insurance. I would have to pay insurance out of pocket. And I knew that would be a lot of money because my parents are self-employed. And my parents are both relatively healthy. They have no chronic illnesses and they're not on many medications, if any at all. And I'm a completely different beast. I have a lot of doctors and medications I have to use. And I know insurance flags me, being like, oh, this person is not an able bodied person. So this is going to cost us more money. So we're going to hike up the rate on how much it costs a month. I'm not sure if that's what they do, but that's how it feels sometimes when I look at it. Just kind of scrolling around to see like what would be cheaper. So I know personally I will likely always have to work in corporate to have that insurance unless I plan severely ahead and have enough money for my medical bills out of pocket or for um the open marketplace for insurance.
And I think that's the points that you brought up that were so good was the idea of just like, yeah, at least in the United States, it's structured like a company, and companies are supposed to make money. But I feel like the principle of that
Hmm.
existing is in the first place is that the fundamental flaw of this system and why it's so harmful. And that's the tough part for you because I feel like not only just you, but me and every other disabled person, it stifles the opportunities that we have because we can't pursue that dream job or go after that big
Hmm.
career or like take a couple of months off of working to do this thing or that thing because
Yes.
we need to focus so much on the fact that we need to stay alive that it doesn't allow us to
Hmm.
actually live. And that
Yeah.
is the part that is a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend the other day. Right now I've been really busy with my company and I've also been just very busy in my personal life. And I have been feeling my energy levels and my spoons, like we've talked about in previous episodes, just going down. And I'm over here like realizing it. I'm like, oh, I know I can't take off this week or next because I have a lot of stuff going on, like with the company, and like I really need to be there. But I'm over here trying to plan ahead of being like, how can I take an extra day, like here or there? Or can I take half of a day so I can get my spoons back? Because I don't want to be out multiple days in a row. But with you saying like the whole insurance component of it, I wish that insurance wasn't tied to our jobs all the time because sometimes when I'm in a really bad flare or if I'm going through a lot, I would really like to just take off like maybe a week, a few weeks, whatever it is, to get that energy back and just come back. Well, you can take time off, but it'll be on short term or long term disability. You have to go through all this paperwork, talk to your doctors, and possibly even do I think it's called like FMLA that's dependent on like where your company is. And it's just like a very long process when I'm over here trying to figure out how do I make sure that I'm not burnt out, that I keep my insurance, but I'm also staying true to myself and my health because I know I'm starting to go downhill and I don't want to hit rock bottom like I've had before with my health. So how do I make sure I'm ahead of it? And that's very hard to dictate, especially if you're trying to think about your company, the insurance, and all the components of it.
Yeah. And that's and that's such so tough too because you are focused on your work, but it's all these
Hmm.
extra stressors that are there. And then like you
Yeah.
mentioned disability is a whole nother beast, honestly. And that's something well beyond all of us as well. And it's just it's so overwhelming because we have to worry about all of these different factors. And it's not like like I don't see a problem in having a mundane life. But I feel like that's something that we could never have. There's always going to be some twist or turn. And it's not like you
Yeah.
live like the 9 to 5, you wake up, go to work, go home, do a thing, go to bed, like there's no sense of mundane for us because we always have to worry about these variables. And
Hmm.
insurance is one of those biggest variables that we shouldn't have to worry about, but it's probably our biggest stressor because it eats into our finance, it eats into our mental and physical health,
Hmm.
it eats into recovery time. Like there's so many things. It eats into our quality of life. It's not
Yeah.
just like a one tiny thing. It amplifies into so many aspects of our life.
Yeah, 100%. I know for me, it has definitely eat up my mental well-being because those bills that you get, I don't know if you ever get this, but I've gotten bills from hospitals or doctors and it's not itemized and it's like the wrong information and they give you a horrible like number. Let's say it's in the thousands. And you're like, whoa, this was a few months ago. How is it that expensive? And I've gotten to a point because it's stressing me out so much that I'm like, okay, Montana, like every 3 months, you're going to get your medical bills, put all of them out, call them to confirm that's itemized, and then pay for it. Because I've had multiple doctors charge incorrectly by accident. And when I paid that, like, because it went through the insurance, and when I paid it, I paid too much, and then it took months for them to get my reimbursement back. So now I'm at the point of when I see these medical bills after insurance is deducted, I wait a little bit so I don't have that stressor of, hey, is this actually even correct? Or are they going to send me the correct bill? Because I get multiple bills and it's really high, and then sometimes it goes lower because they make a mistake. And so I've had to get into that mindset of, you know what? I don't have to pay it like right then and there, which I know that probably sounds bad, but they do give you a grace period on when you like need to pay for it. And I take a look at that and I'm like, okay. And then when I have the energy to actually go through them, I call to ensure that's the correct amount. I'm not getting charged because I've had this happen before. I've had incorrect charges. I've had very high things happen. The insurance didn't go through, or the insurance did go through, but then my FSA didn't go through. So all these like ridiculous things that can happen, and that is really mentally exhausting to have to go through that every time you get that little bill of yours.
Yeah. No, it's just and it's that tough part because it breaks you down so much to the point where you don't want to fight back. And it's so aggravating that we have to feel like we're just, we're defeated. It's over. Like, I'll just roll over and take it because there's no other way. And it's not because like I don't have that magic cure all, that magic thing that can say that this is the answer. This is the way to
Yeah.
maneuver around it. Like currently for me, like I last year in last May when I had a cardiac MRI, I had a cardiac stress test, and I was doing a lot of things medically. I insurance covered it, but I still had $2,600 that I had to pay out of my own, and then I'm paying monthly uh to it, and I paid for it's going to be close to 12 next month will be 12 months, and
Hmm.
I'm still not halfway to paying. Because it's
Well,
only $100 a month, so and
hmm.
that's the crazy thing where it's like I had this one procedure and I'm still going to be paying for it 2.5 years later, and that's just
Yep.
insane to think about.
Yeah. Like you keep remembering the procedure because you keep paying it every month and you're like, oh, That's the medical bill I had so long ago.
And it's
Yeah.
tough because it's like if I have another one that's that costly, I'm gonna have two things. Um, and
Yeah.
it's like I have to budget every month for, $100 has to go allocated to this.
Yeah.
And it's also just like psychological in the sense of like it's not just like me, and but there's like other people that are just like, oh, I had to pay this much for this. Like, do I really need this? Do I really need
Oh, yes. I was literally just about to say that. Like, do I really need that? Do I really need to go to the doctor? Because I feel like that's how our society is with how insurance is and how the whole healthcare system. We wait until the last moment to go to the doctor. I know for myself, with being gaslighted by doctors and just not being overall heard sometimes, that I've taken a while to be like, okay, should I really go to the doctor? What are my symptoms? Is it this, this, and this? Okay. Am I okay? Like, I go through my checklist, being like, is this a flare? Is this exhaustion? Is this burnout? Oh, is this an infection? I go through all the things to try and figure out what's going on with me and diagnose myself before I go to the doctor, to try and not go to the doctor because I know the doctor may take a while to get it correct, and that's going to add costs and medical bills. Then we're going to have to go through the insurance. And I don't know if you've ever had this before, but I go to like doctor offices and I give them the insurance, and then there's a new receptionist starting or admin person, and I wish them the best. But they look at it, they put the information in, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't take the insurance. Can you sign this form that we like, that will be paid out of pocket?" I'm like, "No, no, no, no. Do it again." And then like they try to do the same thing. I'm like, "I am telling you, I checked before I'm here. This doctor is in my insurance thing." So then I have to ask for their supervisor or someone up above them, and then they figure it out. I've had this happen twice at my eye doctor. Um, and I don't try like me mean because I know everyone's learning, but adds another stress to the patient. I'm already worried about having to go see my specialist and figuring out what's going on with me. But right before I get there, gotta confirm like your name, date of birth, while you're there, and then they confirm, oh, is this your same insurance? Yeah. But if it's a new person, I'd be like, oh, can I see your insurance? I'm like, oh, this doesn't. And I'm like, uh-uh. So that's another added stress that I've noticed with the insurance thing, especially if there's a newer person in the office.
Yeah, and I think it's both the idea if there's someone new, but also like if you're getting a new insurance around that time, there's always that's just like, what
Yeah.
if they don't accept it? What if I've like, and I don't want to like cause a scene in the the office. I don't want to like
Yeah.
just like waltz on home and not get my appointment either, Like, and it's tough because it's like
Yeah.
I need this. I'm here because I need it, but I also can't pay the full price of it if it's
Hmm.
full on like no insurance. But and it's just it's so tough. Like I feel I think the main takeaway that we have gotten out of this is that it's like running like a 100-meter hurdle, except there's like a hurdle. The hurdles are like 12 feet tall, and
Hmm.
there's like 300 of them.
You keep hitting them.
Yeah, and keep falling over and hitting your face, and you're just expected to get back up and try and jump over the next one. And
Yeah.
it's like if you don't do that and don't do it well, you're gonna get screwed over in some way, one way or another. And if you're not fighting back and you're not taking the control, then yeah, and it's so ridiculous. I can't wait to hear other people's perspectives that don't live in the United
Yeah.
States. Especially I've known a couple people from European nations, from Asian nations. Um, and insurance is just not this obtuse.
Yeah. And another thing I've heard too is with European nations, I can't really talk about Asian nations because I've never had friends like live there. But the friends I do have that live over in Europe, they talk about life balance a lot, and they have great healthcare, or so they say, but they also only work like 4 days a week. And I also feel like that helps a lot with your quality of life, but as well as resting. Like this weekend, I had a lot going on because Mother's Day, and it was all super fun. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. However, with it being, we're recording this on a Monday. With this being like a Monday, I'm over here feeling it, being like, oh my gosh, I really wish I had a rest day for this weekend. So now I'm trying to figure out what I have going on the rest of the week and be like, okay, can I move anything around to help my spoon, like help me out and figure things out? Because I do know I have two doctor's appointment this week as well. And that takes up a lot of energy. And I know that's going to be mentally draining with the insurance, the FSA card, and trying to go through everything with that. So I think I don't want to like complain and like nag about insurance. It's great that we have it, but there's a lot of improvements that can be made, especially in America. And one thing that I would probably recommend, or what I've done with insurance and like advocating, is persevere. I know it can be frustrating. Dan and I both know it is a lot. Um, and that's okay to acknowledge that, hey, this is hard. This is not fair. And it's also okay to take a few days because I know I've been in a place where I wanted to pay my medical bills and I was just not in the mental headspace to do it because I wasn't really wanting to call insurance during my lunch break because it was a very like hectic day and I just felt blah. And that's okay. Listen to your body, listen to yourself, set reminders, possibly even do like a gratitude journal too, being like, okay, I'm grateful that today I'm feeling a little bit better. I know that may sound silly, but I did do a gratitude challenge last month. And I feel like that helped me a lot with like my energy and my perseverance moving forward. But adulting is not easy. And I would love to know everyone's thoughts on insurance and what are some do's and don'ts that they have learned over the years. Because one do for me is keep persevering, and it's okay to have a little bit stronger tone of voice. Doesn't mean that I'm mean or I'm angry. It just means I'm assertive and I want them to take me seriously so I don't have to be in a lot more medical debt than I already am.
Yeah, and I think that's something like you had said, like you are valid for the frustrations that you have or the struggles that you have, and that it's important to remember too, like not it's not gonna be resolved in one night, unfortunately, but as long as we
Yeah,
continue fighting that fight and we're able to call upon each other to help support each other, and that's something always like if there's ever any support that you need, whether it's emotionally, getting word out, anything like that, we are there and available. We'd love to be able to help. Um, and
100%.
it's a hard world, but it can be a little easier if we go through it together. Um, and I know we're running out of time, but I do want to thank all of you for listening to this episode. We would love to hear your insurance experiences, whether you live in the United States or if you live in a different nation. We would love to hear it. Many different perspectives. It's always been wonderful to hear. Insurance is such a difficult thing to navigate, and I think that Montana and I are not alone in our stories. I know that every disabled person has their horror story of insurance. But hopefully we can make sure that the next generation of people do not have to go through those horror stories with insurance.
Oh yes, 100%. If I do ever decide to have kids, I definitely know that they're going through an insurance prep class, financial class, and then a tax class because we were not taught that in our public school system. But I really appreciate each and every one of you listening, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode and what we can possibly like do better, or if there's any other specific topics that you guys are really interested in us exploring more. I know for me, the last few weeks, insurance has just popped up in my mind because I've been trying to figure out if this is a plan I want to do moving forward. I'm curious to see if anyone else does spring cleaning like this, if they do like spring cleaning finances and try to figure out, oh, how can I be better for the next latter part of the 6 months of the year. But as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening and supporting us.
Yes, that I couldn't have said it better. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Disability Rewritten. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to follow our Patreon. And thank you so much. And it's always, as always, a pleasure. that you took the time to slide into our DMs. So have a wonderful day or night to the listener. Bye now.
Bye.